Hello, today is the day when NHL starts again during these uncertain times, but still we are very happy that NHL will be played and all the ice hockey fans can enjoy the top level ice hockey during this year. Before the season starts, we'll review best bets for those season futures, and as today the first 6 games of the season, we also pick up a few best bets out of those games. Tommy, which teams will perform better than Vegas line indicates during this season when we think about season points total?
We have a couple of teams here doing better than the Vegas lines are indicating, but let's start with one of the most surprising ones. So we have New York Rangers reaching 66 points in the Eastern Division. Their line is 59.5. So there is quite a big difference between the simulations and the Vegas odds. I think this is due to the fact that the Rangers is up and coming team. Not a lot is expected from them, and they have a very talented offensive team, which is usually what the simulations do really like. Have to point out here that the Eastern Division is, like we've been repeating, one of the toughest ones, the most even one. In simulations, there were 5 teams within 2 points in the regular season. So it is a very tough one, but New York Rangers has the potential to make the playoffs, has the potential to reach way more than 60 points. So this is one of the better bets as a dark horse that we have here. Then moving on to North, this is our also a little bit a surprising team, Edmonton Oilers. Their line is set at 64.5 points in the regular season, and in simulations they gather all of 75. So there is 10-point difference here. This is due, of course, to McDavid and Draisaitl scoring the 1.5 points per game, or what was it in the last season. So those guys are carrying the team, but they have the potential, especially in the regular season, to do really well in the Northern Canadian division. It should be a good matchup for them, and they should be able to beat the lower teams quite easily. Of course, then fighting with Toronto and probably Vancouver for the win of the division. Then the last but not least is our favorite to win it all. So Colorado Avalanche. Their line is quite high. It's 76.5 points. But in the simulations, they go all the way to 83 points, which is a massive amount of points. But still, Avalanche is so much better than their division's worst teams, the bottom ones. So they should be easily taking those points. And they have everything that is needed to challenge the likes of San Luis and Vegas as well. So that line is a little bit low for Colorado Avalanche, and especially in our simulations, they score so many goals that they are likely to go over 80 points. So 83 is our total line there. So those 3 are the ones that we'd like to pay attention to going over. And then what do you have there going under?
Naturally, when there are teams that are performing better than Vegas predicts, there are teams that are performing worse than Vegas line shows. And we have here 2 teams that we want to highlight that won't reach the line based on our simulation. First one is the Montreal Canadiens in Scotia North Division. It looks like they are overrated by Vegas and, of course, many fans year after year. They still have a few top players, steady goaltending with Carey Price, Shea Weber in back lines, but they are not a team that will collect 67.5 points. Our simulations show only 52 points, and actually they would struggle to beat the last in North Division. Ottawa is predicted to be the last, but there's not too many points between these 2 Canadian teams. Especially the teams from the Western Canada, like you said, Edmonton, Also, Vancouver's upcoming team, Winnipeg and Calgary are maybe too much to Montreal. And today we start with local battle when Montreal goes to Toronto, but a few word more about that game a bit later. Another team that is predicted to perform remarkably lower than Vegas line indicates is Anaheim Ducks. Anaheim is middle of the rebuilding process, and the team is not in the level that could compete in very near future. Both Southern California teams, Kings and Ducks, are maybe the worst one in the West, but the line for the Ducks is 53.5 points. So when our simulations indicate only 46 points, that's another good bet to go under during the season. How about then these different divisions? Which teams provide some value to bet for a divisional win?
Yeah, this is always a tough one because of the new divisions and also the way the schedule is set now. So you play within your own division only, so it makes the matchup so much more important. We are more here picking the odds than actually the most likely winners, because the odds for the likely winners are very low and we have no value there. So let's start with the tough Eastern division. We have Philadelphia Flyers winning the whole division. They are only third in the Vegas odds for winning, so they have odds of plus 450. It is, like I said before, there is 5 teams within a couple of points, so it is very tough one. But Flyers have everything that they need to beat all of those divisional rivals, and also those odds are really attractive, plus 450 for the Flyers to win the division. Then we have another one of these teams that are considered contenders. So St. Louis Blues, their odds to win the division are plus 550. Of course, there is Colorado Avalanche, there is Vegas in the same division, so it will be a tough one. But considering that the odds are so much higher than for those two teams, Blues have just about the same probability of taking the division. It will be between these 3 teams to find out which one is the pole position in this Western division. So 550 for Blues, it's a good value bet. And then the controversial one that we have always here is Edmonton Oilers in the North, the Canadian division. So the simulations do really like McDavid and Draisaitl there. So winning the division is probably between Toronto and Edmonton. Edmonton more of a regular season winner type of team in our paper, so they should do fine. The odds are plus 460, so there is a bit of value there considering that Toronto has odds of under 200. So Toronto clear favorites by the odds makers, but we do have Edmonton higher than them. So I would go for this plus 460 for Oilers to win the Northern Division. How about the other interesting betting target here, the making the playoffs? It's a completely different situation than usual. So how have we assessed this situation in our simulations?
Yeah, this is a very interesting category here, making the playoffs, because only 4 teams from each division will make it, and there's no wild cards or any kind of balancing for the better or worse teams. So it could be that teams with much lower point total will reach the playoffs from the division that is not very balanced, and then vice versa, teams with higher points total won't get qualified because the division is very even. But we have picked 3 teams here for this making the playoffs bets. One is first one we will ride like for the over with the New York Rangers in the East, and East is of course quite tight division like mentioned, but there is basically need for one of the top teams to underperform, and New York Rangers should be number 4, so we are predicting them to be number 4, and with odds of plus 115, there is some value for this bet. this naturally requires that most probably Islanders and Pittsburgh won't reach the playoffs this year. Then another team listed here is from the North Division, Winnipeg Jets. Odds are currently plus 100, but Winnipeg most probably is the fourth team here after Edmonton, Toronto, and Calgary. Vancouver was quite close of Winnipeg, but still we feel that the offense of Winnipeg is providing enough goals for them to reach the playoffs. Maybe some trades for the defense would help quite a bit as well. And then third team for the reaching the playoffs bets is Arizona Coyotes. Their odds are a bit higher, 175 plus 175, and basically this is three-way race between San Jose, Minnesota, and Arizona to reach the last spot, fourth spot in Western Division after Colorado, St. Louis, and Vegas, who are the great favorites of this division. And even though our simulations show that Minnesota is the number 4, the difference between Arizona is very, very small in simulations, so only less than 2 points, basically one game. So with this higher odds, I'm taking the Arizona going to playoffs as well. But of course, the most interesting question before the season is that who is going to win it all? So we have in our season preview selections a few teams that we predict that have a highest probability to win it, but do those teams offer any value, or is there other teams that offer better value?
Yeah, we have to remember that this season is very extraordinary in many ways. So it's a new situation for all the teams. It's a new situation for odds makers. It's a new situation for us as well. So we would like to emphasize a little bit of these dark horses because in the season there are so many things that can happen. So obviously the best teams that we have predicted as well have some value in Stanley Cup odds, but I'll return to those after listing a couple of these dark horses, which are actually the same ones that we've been talking about already. But first, to start with the Eastern candidates is Philadelphia Flyers, and their odds of plus 1,700. There is plenty of value there. They are not considered favorites in the East. Boston Bruins, Washington Capitals, and even Penguins are there above them in the Stanley Cup odds. So Philadelphia does have value here. Of course, they're still inexperienced, young team, probably have a couple of years ahead of them in contending. But if everything goes right for them, they have a good chance of going all the way. And it will be a very hard team to beat in the long run. Then another one that is quite obvious, but not favored by the odds makers, St. Louis Blues. Even if they lost Alex Pietrangelo, the team is really, really balanced in offense, in defense. They have great goaltending. It's a really tough situation, the division that they play in with Colorado and Vegas. But if they go through those two teams, it's all open for them, and they are capable of beating anyone. Their odds are as high as 2,000. So even with a couple of pennies to Blues, you can make quite a hefty profit. And then even longer odds, but our simulations favorites Edmonton Oilers, which would of course be a massive surprise if they finally make it, but plus 2,200 odds, it's definitely something to worth a punt, if not very big stakes. But like we said, Edmonton has the capability offensively to beat anyone. They need to sort out their defense, and the goaltending is a little bit of a question. But again, if they get to play when they get to play against the Canadian counterparts first, they should be able to make it to the playoffs quite easily. And then there is not a lot of tough teams for them in the division to beat. So it will be then up for them to match the other divisions winners. So it's, of course, a long shot. But when these young teams get it going, and if they find their common page in their game book, they will be really tough team to beat. And then let's just mention these two best teams, Tampa Bay and Colorado. Obviously, probably by everyone's papers, they are the best teams. Colorado Avalanche plus 650 odds, Tampa Bay plus 850. So even in our simulations, there is some value, but these are the rather easy picks. So if you want to play it safe, go with these teams and then pick a penny and take the longer odds. But of course, these two are definitely the best teams in the league. Can't see many challengers if these games would be decided on paper, which they're not. So this very extraordinary season, anything can happen. So I would look for the longer odds and maybe play it safe then with the Colorado and Tampa.
Yeah, that sounds pretty solid assessment. My own opinion is that the Stanley Cup winner will come from the West Conference. There are three very strong teams over there, and I think any of them can win. As you can see, there is some kind of third team that wasn't mentioned here, but still we can comfortably see that St. Louis or Colorado can definitely be the winner at the end. But like I said, today is the first state of games. In these videos, we will always pick up few games, few bets that we feel that have some value, and then tomorrow onwards we'll review these bets and see how the games went. And today, first day of the season, we can share here a few games, and we've selected St. Louis, Colorado. These two teams just mentioned for the Stanley Cup. They would score over 5.5 goals. Simulations predict already 7 goals for this game, and Colorado has the offense to score. And like you said, St. Louis captain Pietrangelo is not anymore patrolling on the blue line, so maybe they have a puzzle a little bit open, but within next few weeks that would be ready, because of course the training camp exhibition games hasn't been like it has been earlier, and all the changes for the teams may take time to settle. Another game that is highlighted here is Montreal's visit to Toronto. Toronto odds are minus 123, and there is positive expected value in that game as well. Toronto has won Montreal 80% of the games at their home during the last 3 seasons. There's also positive profit out of the Toronto home games when there is expected value to bet for Toronto. And we also feel that Toronto is a much better team than Montreal. That seems to be overrated by both bookmakers and many fans in Canada. So smart money goes to these two bets, and then we'll see tomorrow what was the outcome for the games. Hopefully everybody can enjoy the season. And Tommy, when you make a bet, well, how do you usually define that your bet is successful? Is it only money, or is it also the excitement that a game brings to you?
It depends a little bit on the stakes, of course, but in general, betting should be fun. So it's a lot of entertainment purposes, of course. And I love watching the games, even if the time difference is a bit difficult here. But it's something that adds up to the games. And of course, we can then take this more analytical approach with the BetQL assessment, so we can check that if the bet has been good, we can compare different things like how has the actual balance of the game been, because of course in NHL there are times when not the better team might be winning and all these things, like in any other sport. So we can have a little bit of a two-way approach to this, so have the entertainment value but also check the analytical side of things.
Yeah, I think it's important to win some money but having fun at the same time.
Definitely, and it's great to get it finally started.
That sounds good. We'll continue tomorrow.